I hope that you can respect my decision.
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book. You know what time it is. Talking to you guys about Married at First Sight, dealing with Shaq and Kirsten, and the reason why he had to say no. I think one of the biggest reasons why he had to say no is the fact that he mentioned on more than one occasion about trying to step up to trying to be a man in the relationship with Kirsten. He wasn't able to do that. And I think also added to that, the fact that Kirsten also was questioning his masculinity behind the scenes. I mean, like some of us were as well. But, she questioned his masculinity. There was a couple comments that she used to make, here and there, which were indicating towards whether the masculinity was where she wanted it to be. Okay, so we're going to break down a few other reasons as to why I believe he had to say no. But that was one of the strongest ones. I felt like, if someone's going to question masculinity and whether they really think you're a man or not, man enough for them, that relationship is almost doomed to fail. And it's very similar to the Miles and Karen situation, where Karen was questioning Miles's masculinity. And we see where they are at the current moment. They seem to be on a break or something. I'm not sure. But we're going to break down this episode from Shaq and Kirsten's point of view. This is part one. I've got probably like 2 or 3 videos to drop in the course of the next few days. So look out for them as well. So if you're new to the channel, do me a massive, massive favor. Like it, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification of the uploads. We appreciate you guys. Stay locked and stay loaded. And for those of you who are returnees, you already know what it is, baby. You got the minerals. You got the minerals. Stay hydrated. Oh, all right. Let's get into this video. So I think one of the opening scenes, things that he kind of spoke about was, him struggling to be able to be a man in the relationship as well. So that's how it is.
Honestly, I'm just not settled with us.
So what is your decision?
Now, of course, he was never settled in the relationship with Kirsten. I think I didn't get to play. I think I didn't go back further enough. But he mentioned about this not being able to be a man in the relationship. And for a lot of men, for a lot of men, the battle we're facing, especially among us in the Black society at the moment, is this word emasculation, but also as well this jostling of power between couples that happens, right? Allowing the man to be a man, allowing the woman to be a woman. Now, of course, how that looks is different for different people. But I think what was happening here in this particular instance, in most people's cases, is the element of control and who gets to lead and who gets to follow. And I think that's one of the biggest conversations we ever have on this channel, on these YouTube streets, which is, can I trust your leadership? And that's a conversation, again, another video that could be done, but can she trust his leadership? Now, she spoke a little bit about what made her attracted to him. That's after she broke it down how she wasn't attracted to him. When he carries boxes, when he does, when he changes her tire, when he's fixing the oil in the car, when he's doing, quote unquote, we call these traditional masculine stereotypical roles, that's when she feels most attracted to him. That's when he's being his most masculine self to her. And one of the hardest things in the relationship is allowing each other to come to a place of vulnerability where you both can let your walls down and trust one another in different ways and different shapes and different forms. I think one of the biggest things for Shaq is that I see someone who obviously, he's a great leader outside of this. He mentors people. So, he's an organizer. We know this from his parents. So he's not short of leadership skills in some totality. But I do feel like he wanted to be given to too much. And what that means is I feel there's a lot of emotional care that he needed that Kirsten just wasn't able to give. And so he had to say no, because at that given point in time, whether we agree with him or not, whether we think he's needy or not, at that given time, Kirsten wasn't going to be able to give him that care that he wanted, because she didn't have it in her to do so, right? If anything, she needs to be given too. And so it was going to be tough because both parties were in a situation where they were inverted in what they needed, right? He wanted to be given to, she wanted to take, and he wasn't able to give because he wasn't able to give because he doesn't have it to give, and she wasn't able to give because she didn't have anything to give. Right? Also, I said it wasn't able to take from her because he was always giving. And I think when you look at their relationship, I think another thing that he always screamed out was he didn't feel supported. Now, whether we agree this again, I don't know if I fully agree this all the way again, because I felt like what he says he wanted support with, I think it was one incident only, but I'm not sure. It didn't really kind of delve into that a bit more. And then she told us, hey, I'm gonna do better. I'm gonna come and visit you when you have your work due, whatever, whatever. And we had a massive argument on this on our channel on the super panel, which is every Thursday, guys. By the way, turn up at that nighttime, Thursday nights, 8 p.m. EST. But we had that whole situation, and what we saw was with what we had an argument about was the fact that Shaq asking to be supported. Was he supported? And in some instances, I think he was supported because she was willing to make the changes. She was willing to change it around. But he may be using the wrong word, support, because what we also saw, and this is another big thing that we saw, and the reason why he can't also marry her is, let's be honest, sis, you told him first, you just be honest, you didn't turn up to his work event, which is fair, but then you was at a family event, which he didn't get an invite to, by the way. It was suddenly last minute. And then your father also too, he didn't meet your father till way later in terms of after the wedding. But you said about his father doesn't want to film. You don't have to film that part. He could have just met him offline, like he did, like we did see on the show. Like we didn't see the father meet up. We just got told about it, right? Which means it could have been done time ago. So there were pending issues below the surface which begin to play out. Let's not forget that she told him that his humor was annoying to her. Let's not forget that she wasn't attracted to him, or bald heads to his face in front of the whole group. Let's not forget that part. Let's not forget that in the very beginning, it was very difficult for you to open up in the first place, meaning I had to try and prise you open. All in all, this being said, does not make Shaq innocent party at all. And when we do drop a part 2, we're going to talk about his behavior, because he also too was in a position of wanting to take, but wasn't in a position of giving either. And as the head, you've got to learn also how to give. It can't just be taking. You've got to nourish the body. You've got to nourish the wife that you have. And thus, of course, I do believe she had some issues that she needs to sort out. And I said this at the very beginning. I knew they weren't going to make it through, because the depth of change that Kirsten's going to need, the depth of help she's going to need to open up. What we saw with Keisha on After Party, old girl couldn't even open up to Keisha. So she ain't going to open up to Shaq. Do you get what I'm saying to you? It's going to be very, very difficult to get her to that place. It's going to require a lot of input. And it's going to be very hard to see in 8 weeks whether this is going to be worth it or not. So when she was screaming about the fact that, in 8 weeks, you can't make a decision about knowing whether you're going to marry somebody, I would beg to differ. I think in 8 weeks, if you can't put your best foot forward, we ain't never going to have your best foot forward. Do you know what I mean? Right? 8 weeks where you guys spend undiluted time with each other in the first few weeks, where you spend every day with each other. If you can't decide whether you want to marry that person or not, I don't think you're going to know whether you're going to want to marry them after the 8 weeks is done. Ain't going to make a difference. You're just prolonging the decision that you have to make. So I think that was also a big thing, that why he had to say no. And, I definitely feel like they are, a good looking couple, and, they had potential, but they needed help. They needed expertise help. And when the expertise are going on, like what Pascal said, you know what, you won't find no better. I'm like, well, what did you do to make sure they were going to get there? Right? Since you knew they were going to be so great, what did you do to make sure they got there, Pascal? Now, of course, we might not see some of the help you do because the show is edited, but when you're giving us 26 episodes and we're on 21, okay, all right, I think we're doing 26 or 24, I can't remember. When you're going to be giving us 24 to 26 episodes and you can't squeeze in expertise conversations, I'm looking at Lifetime Married at First Sight as some bollocks and bullcrap. Excuse my French, because it don't make sense how you can have that many hours of footage and you can't show me enough expertise help to try and say this goddamn relationship and this marriage. Okay, so for Shaq, I had to see it and go, no, I can see why he said no. Right? When you have to wait to meet somebody's family, when the dad can't be bothered to meet you offline, when you've questioned your masculinity, when you require certain support, when you're looking for the person to open up and they won't be vulnerable to you, these are difficult things. These are very difficult things to bypass. And so therefore I can understand why he said no on decision day, right? It's clear to me. Anyway, listen, like, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for notification uploads. We appreciate you guys. Stay locked, stay loaded. We'll see you again very, very soon. Much love, much appreciation. See you again.